All right, so this here. Let's actually. I feel like we should do patrician, or we'll leave one patrician, and then I'll leave yours as god tier. Why not? So Sigur Rós, whatever the fuck this album is called.
Yep, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's
It's like some sort of foreign post rock.
it's from a country.
I said Swedish. He said Norwegian. Norwegian sounds probably more accurate. But
don't know.
who fucking knows? I'm personally, I've only listened to this album once, and while I mean I've never come back to it, I thought it was pretty decent. I don't really know why this is mucore, though.
I don't know who's like such a big fan of it that they talk about it all the time, but
yeah,
which I don't think anyone like that exists, and if they do,
I really
feel
don't.
Sorry for you,
I
but...
really don't think it's kind of a weird. It's a weird thing. I'm gonna put this. I'm not gonna. I probably won't ever listen to this album again.
But I might come back to it once or twice.
I'm also just not really
that notable.
I'm not really into post rock, so there is that. I don't know. I could say like C or D. I'm floating between those two. I'm gonna put in D for now because I really don't care much about this one. What do you want?
I'll put it in D. I'm not gonna be contrarian to you. It's
okay.
It's not that great.
Yeah. So, American Football self-titled. This is one that I like the intro track a lot, but that's only because it's like literally the same riff. Like you can't not like get into it because it's literally the same fucking riff over and over again. It's not a bad riff. And like the vocals, I think are a little bit more interesting, but it's literally like the same fucking riff the whole song. I don't even remember the rest of the album.
Well, it is. It's a super repetitive album.
Yeah.
It's also really really long. I mean, they could have cut it in half and made it have more bang for the buck. It's like 2 hours.
Are you kidding me? Is it? No way.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me see here. Well, are you talking about the deluxe edition or the regular one?
I just check the regular.
The regular one is 40 minutes. That's not bad for like an emo math rock album.
We gotta start the video.
No, don't be a fucking poser. You fucking bitch. The deluxe edition is an hour and 22 minutes. So yeah, that would be too long. But
yeah. Well, see, maybe if I didn't listen to the deluxe edition, I would like that more.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm personally gonna put this in D because I'm not really big into this one either. I've never really gotten into it. Like none of these albums are bad. That's the thing. So it being a D tier is not, it's relative to all these other albums. I just don't care about this one as much. What about you?
I like the bands, and I watch their live recordings. Sometimes it's pretty entertaining bands. I think I'll put in C just because I do like American football, but I just don't go back to the album that often.
Yeah. So, King Crimson in the Court of the Crimson King is a legendary album. 1969, fucking insanely good prog rock for the time.
That's all true, but I just subjectively don't get the appeal as much. So and I don't invalidate what you say about like really enjoying it. I enjoy like some songs, like 20th
It's just
century.
it's 5 tracks. Each of which are like, it doesn't waste your time. It's like it's a perfect clash of like it starts off with like a bang, and it like just like the whole progression of the album, like it slows down at the right moments, and it lays down like just like the whole idea of like the 21st century schizoid man. Like this was in 1969, and like that's like they fucking knew what they were doing. Like they knew what they're fucking, and like the album art like represents that so well.
Oh,
It's incredible
it
art.
is god tier album art.
Yeah,
For sure.
like that. This is like one of those albums where it's like the album art is so essential to the actual album. Like the actual listening experience and the art are so like tied together that I'm throwing this in Patrician. But where do you want it?
I'm gonna put it in C. I
C,
definitely have a lot of
really?
respect. Yeah.
Okay, you just don't fuck with it.
it just doesn't click with me. It doesn't make my brain feel fuzzy in the same way
Really?
as
Okay.
some things. Not because it's it's not from an objective standpoint, but purely my own experience.
All right. Well, now we are looking at Godspeed You, Black Emperor, F sharp, A sharp, which is an album that I have not. I think this technically might be an EP, actually. I don't know. But either way, I haven't actually listened to this one. Well, I have listened to, like, one of my friends, like, a few years ago was like, dude, you gotta, like listen to this album. And I, like, smoked a cigarette in his car with him and listened to it. And it was pretty cool. But other than that, like, I haven't actually listened to this in full.
That's a decent way to experience the album.
Yeah, definitely.
I personally love this album.
I'm gonna have to, like, this is the never ever tier. So I haven't actually listened to this in full, so I'm just gonna throw it in there. But you have opinions, so.
Well, this album has just a certain aesthetic to it that I really enjoy. In terms of, it's a very dark album. But it's.
Isn't it like primarily about like consumerism and?
It's not overdone. It's just very it's gritty, minimal, and that's something I really like. That's what I personally go for as an artist. So, I think I'm gonna have to put it in God tier.
Okay, cool. Ooh. Okay. I like this one. Death Consciousness by Have a Nice Life. So this album, when I first listened to this album, and it was one of those things that kind of, like, it sort of just went through me, but I felt the effects. Like, I feel like, cause my first listen was probably the most powerful, like, it was the most impactful listen I've had to this album, because I've since listened to it a bit more casually, just because it's so long, and that, like, when I first listened to this album, like, I listened to this album like I was just laying in bed, and I just took the trip. But ever since then, I haven't given it quite that amount of attention. But even with, like, the experiences that I've had with it since then, like, I've really come to appreciate, like, the variety and, like, just like the very unique soundscape that it creates. Like, it's such a great blend of, like, genres. Like, it's like post-rock, shoegaze, black metal-y, like, kind of like it's just so many things, and it's really incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a really, really emotional album. It's one that I first discovered it from like some of the singles on it, and I like immediately like took to the singles.
Yeah.
And then I've like, after listening to the singles like quite a few times, I finally like listened to the entirety of the album once or twice.
Yeah, it's a long album. It's like an hour and a half.
And it's got some incredibly high points.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of things about it are just incredible.
It's so visceral.
Yeah. Super loud, and not in like a punchy way, but in a really balanced way. Some really good mixing. It's for me, I think it's had a real emotional impact on me, but I don't think I can put it in God tier. I think it's going to be in my first A tier.
Yeah, I was also thinking A tier. I think if I gave this one a bit more time, I might put it into Patrician / God tier. But where it stands with me right now, I'm thinking about an A tier. So next up we have Bjork, Homogenic. This is another one that I haven't given too much of my time to.
Yeah, I've only like passively, given this a listen once or twice. Didn't like latch onto it too much.
Never really got into Bjork much, yeah.
I I like some of Björk's stuff. I like her.
Jesus
impact,
Christ, they have 3 fucking Radiohead albums. This is actually the only Björk album I've listened to, just because like this is like the big one, and I didn't get super into it, so I didn't explore any further.
Yeah, I'd have to put this in D tier or never ever, but
I mean the bottom tier is supposed to be like I haven't listened to it, but
yeah.
I think you probably have listened to all these. So yeah.
we could just to be fair, we could just put in never.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that because I really don't know this album well enough.
I just can't. I don't think you can judge it off of what I know of it.
Sure. So, how do you feel about In Rainbows?
I don't know. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I used to be a pretty big fan of In Rainbows, but I mean Radiohead in general, like. I was pretty into them for a while, and I would say that, like, spoilers, the 3 albums that are on here probably would be my 3 favorite Radiohead albums, because I do think those are probably the best ones. But with that being said, In Rainbows at this point kind of forgettable. I'd probably give it a C, personally.
Yeah, it's certainly not shit, so I'd give it a C.
Yeah,
It's just sort of, I don't want to say that it's been forgotten, but I don't know,
it sort of has by me.
Yeah, it's just
weird. I will say though, Weird Fishes is like one of my, at the time that was like that song was very good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. That's a really great song.
It's still, it's a really, really great song.
Yeah, it's probably like the thing.
Definitely one of my
favorite.
Definitely one of my favorite Radiohead songs. I mean, that's not even one of the most popular tracks from the album. I would say like probably Nude is. Maybe more popular. I think. Yeah, but Weird Fishes is a hit. Anyways, so next up we have Neutral Milk Hotels in the Aeroplane over the Sea. This is the like Mew core album. Like this is like I actually made a chart once that was like like the Topster charts. I made one of those that was just like it was just like a bunch of fucking in the Aeroplane over the Seas, and like the background was even. But anyway, I personally really like this album a lot. Yeah, I could listen to this album indefinitely. This is well, what do you think about this album?
This is another one I haven't latched onto as much, but I enjoy it. I enjoy when I hear it. I enjoy when friends want to play it in my car.
Yeah,
it's a very good album. And
it's just like the best. It's the best feeling about this album is like how raw and genuine like the vocals seem to be. And I mean the instrumentation as well, but like it's something like like earlier Ira and I were playing like In the Aeroplane over the Sea, and it just feels so good to play that song because it doesn't matter how good you are at playing that, like playing or singing that song, like because it always feels right to me, because like I had also done the same thing with one of my older friends who I also knew who played guitar. That was like a common song that like I would sing and he would play guitar to. And it just like, I don't know, it just feels a certain way, like that track in particular, but the whole album is feels that way for me. And I don't know.
It's a pretty relatable experience. I had a friend who tried to do a cover of it with his like lo-fi indie band, but he couldn't get all the words out because of the guy. He never stops for a breath.
Yeah, it's a little hard, but
yeah,
like there's like a specific like thing that Ira and I were doing with like the reverb. Like if you get the reverb in a specific, like just a little touch of reverb, with his guitar, sounds really good on that track. But anyways, I'm personally throwing this into patrician.
I'm gonna throw it in B tier just because it's not something I've latched onto, but something I enjoy.
I personally fuck with this album. So Radiohead's Kid A. Possibly. I mean, initially was definitely like upon entering Radiohead's discography, definitely was like the standout for me for the longest time.
That is interesting. I definitely I mean my intro is OK Computer,
I
but
don't know if it was my intro. It was my intro. I think might have been Kid A. Yeah, I used to like. I had a friend. I had a friend who was like obsessed with Radiohead, and basically we used to like smoke a lot of weed and listen to Radiohead. And like I have a very specific memory of him like finding like a torrent or something of Kid A on my computer, and that was fun. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I initially didn't like this album as much because I didn't get it as much, but
Mhm.
after listening more electronic and a little bit of trip hop, I've gotten to like it more. I'd say it's for me it's definitely tier B. I like
Yeah,
it.
definitely like influential to like that sort of scene in particular.
Mhm,
I feel like this is another one of those albums where the album art, like, I mean, all of these,
mhm.
have very like capturing, uh, like imagery, but this album does have it's got some nice art, like those icy like glitchy caverns. Like I
Yeah,
feel like I'm
it's
floating through that when I listen to this one.
oh yeah, it's got God tier album art.
Anyways, I think I'm gonna throw this into B because it's definitely a step above In Rainbows. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely going in B.
Okay. So this one, I forget. This is the Talk Talk record.
Mhm,
There's two that are there's like they have two records that are pretty popular,
mhm,
and they both have like similar art.
mhm.
I don't. I've listened to one of them. I don't know which one.
Well,
Let
this
me see.
one's the more experimental one.
Let me see. Hold on. All right. So this is actually
Laughing stuff.
I don't. I don't know. I can't
No,
remember
it's
which one I listened to. But I'm pretty sure I actually no. I listened to Spirit of Eden.
Spirit of Eden's like a little bit more like post punk than Laughing Stock. Laughing Stock's where they went a little bit more experimental.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw that Never Ever because I haven't listened to that one.
This was one of the first post rock albums I listened to. Like after listening to like Slint's album, and I definitely I definitely enjoyed like the way the soundscapes build and the really like unique guitar playing on it. It's definitely is always something that like catches my ear. And when I was listening to it, I definitely got like the fuzzy sensation in my brain, like really being stimulated. So I'd have to. It's gonna be pretty high for me. I think I'd put it in A tier.
Okay. So then we get to this is like canon post rock album. This is like the post rock album. Um, this one is really good. I think it's pretty good. I'm not really into post rock, but yeah. Godspeed you, Black Emperors. Lift your skinny fucking heaven to fingers, something like that. Yeah. I think it's lift your skinny fist. Is there's even
Lift your skinny fist
to heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, personally, I'd feel weird if I put this one high, because I've only listened to it once, I think, or maybe a couple times. But I did enjoy it a lot, and it was a stimulating experience for sure. Yeah, what do you think?
I think I'm like the F sharp. I just enjoy a lot more than this, and part of that is I really fucking hate the horns on this album,
Oh, okay.
and that's like that's the reason I don't really listen to Godspeed that much. I'm just like, eh.
Hmm.
I don't know. Personally, it's going down. It's going D tier for me.
I was actually gonna say, yeah. Even though I do respect this album a lot, and like I'm just not into post rock. I'm just gonna throw that into D tier. Yeah. So here we get to I'm just gonna make a new tier for this one. I'm just gonna do one of these. Add row above. Come on. Oh wait, I think I did it twice. Fuck.
Well, now you've got to. Oh, okay.
All right. The greatest album ever made of all time. Yep. The text is so long that it's not score anymore.
And that's definitely gonna go in God tier for me.
Okay, cool. I'm interested to hear what you have if you have anything to say about Loveless, actually.
Well,
because we haven't talked. I don't think we've talked about it too much.
I
obviously you know how I feel, but
I think I don't know what I could really add to the dialogue. It's a pretty universally acclaimed album.
Yeah.
But what I personally like.
Dude, anytime you go on Mew, there's 3 Loveless threads, and 2 of them are mine. But yeah.
Well, personally, I really like how tight everything they do is. It's really precise, but not in.
Dude, Kevin Shields has fucking 300 plus pedals. That dude is autistic as fuck.
That is crazy.
Did you know that he actually he made his label fuck, what's the, I can't even think of what the label's called. It's something with a C. I feel like an idiot. I can't think of it right now, but it's something with a C Records. He basically made that label go bankrupt. Nearly went bankrupt from making Loveless.
Yeah, I have
just
heard
because
that.
Kevin Shields is so fucking obsessive, but that's why the album is so good. That's why it took them 20 years to make another fucking album.
And it's pretty clear the emotions felt in this album are very relatable.
Hold on, now I gotta look up the record label because I feel like a retard. Let me see. That's not what I'm looking for. There's a bunch of things called Loveless. There's also an anime called Loveless, actually. Creation Records, that's what it is. Creation Records, and they have some other similar stuff. Guided by Voices is on there. That's pretty cool. Oasis, Medicine, Slow Dive is on there. Primal Scream, Ride. So the big three, the big three. Oh, Swerve Driver, the big three shoegaze bands are on there. So that's pretty cool. They're all on the same label. But yeah, that's that. I don't know if you had anything else to say.
No,
I didn't even really say anything. I just I could talk about that album all day, but I didn't even say anything. But fuck you. Anyways, next up we have that one album. What's it called? It's by Kanye. Kanye
My
West.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
My beautiful. Yeah, I'm just fucking around. But yeah, dude, my friend has the record of this. Do you have the record for this one?
I don't. Yeah.
Hey, do you know how you can change the sleeve for the? Yeah, it's really cool. You can change the pictures because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so My Dark Twisted Fantasy is, it's the best Kanye album. I'm willing to put this in patrician.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This would.
I think it's that easy.
Should go in God tier for me. I mean, it's Kanye's best hip hop album. It's his tightest album in terms of production, but he's done things that have been more experimental since then.
Yeah.
But in terms of rapping, he's perhaps had more emotional bars or more raw bars in his earlier things. But this was him giving it all he had because he knew he had to bring himself back into a positive view in the public eye. Because this was right after the Taylor Swift situation happened. At the Grammys. So
yeah. Okay, cool. So next up we have the Microphones, The Glow Part 2. I'm pretty familiar with this record. How familiar are you with this one?
I'm I've listened to it like once or twice. I wasn't super into it. I like the singles. I don't really like the stuff in between, like they're more lo-fi tracks that they wedge in between.
This is actually one guy, if you didn't know.
Mm.
So the thing about this album that's interesting, because the way I feel about this album is the same way that Phil Elverum feels about this album. I feel like, which is the guy behind the microphones. Basically, I think like he has stated that like since then he's like, I don't remember where I saw it, but he was basically like, yeah, that album is like a fucking. He was like, that was when I was sad, but like not actually. Like he was like, yeah, this is just like a bunch of poetic, like fake poetic bullshit. Because like a lot, like the whole album is just like very like esoteric like lyricism with like there's like I don't know, like take a song like Samurai Sword, that's just like a wall of noise, but it just sort of feels meaningless. And I don't think that really clicked with me until I read that quote. Because, like, there's his, like, one of his more recent album where his, like, wife died. I forget what the actual album's called. But the one where his wife died, like, that whole album is just, like, fucking pure emotion. And, like, going back to this album, I think, like, I do really resonate with this album greatly. Like the lo-fi, like the noise, like the walls of noise that he creates, like with like the track like Samurai Sword. Samurai Sword is fucking sick, dude. That I like that song. But then the more I listen to it, like the first time I listened to it, I think the first time I listened to this album I cried like twice. And now I listen to it and I'm just like, I barely even feel it. Cuz I don't know, over time I've sort of thought like, wow, this album is kind of like, it's a bit of a fraud. I don't know. I still think it's a really good listen if you're a sad boy. And you like cool sounding noise things that are lo-fi and sound cool. And if you want to float through like a weird mansion of sadness, there's a song, I think it's called The Mansion. You'll get that. Pretty cool album. I like it. I'm going to put it in A tier.
And personally, just because I didn't resonate with it, I'm gonna put it in D tier.
Yeah, that sounds about right for you, I think. Okay, so you were saying that you fucking hate this album. Yeah, this is kind of one of those ones that like, this is like one of those albums that people shit on. Like on Mew, if you're in like Mew threads, people will be like, oh, like. It's one of the Mewcore. It's probably like one of the most hated Mewcore albums, I would say. I don't know.
Definitely.
I haven't listened to it in a while. But I mean, it's definitely not like as experimental or whatever as like people. I don't know why do people even praise this album? I mean, I've always liked it, honestly. By the way, we're talking about if you don't know, this is Animal Collective's Merryweather Post Pavilion.
I mean, it's sort of like a rock revival album. You know, people like that. Just I don't know. It's just very poppy to me.
Yeah,
I'm just
which you're not into.
Yeah, not.
It's
not
very
really
like psych, sort of like It's like slightly experimental, but it's not. I mean, it's the entry. It's it's the gateway drug to Animal Collective's discography.
I mean, and certainly like I just feel like at the time it was made. Was it really in any way experimental for being a 2000s album?
I think it's like 2009. I mean, I don't know. It sounds about right. I don't know. I like it. I like it a bit. I'm going to put it in B tier.
I'm going to put it in the toilet.
In the toilet?
So it's...
You want to make a shit tier for this one or no?
Oh, no. This is... The
D tier's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're at Radiohead's OK Computer. Probably the best Radiohead album. I don't know. It's debatable. Like Kid A is potentially better, I think. OK Computer is a bit more straightforward. Well, a lot more straightforward. But it has some great like tracks. Like it has some very standout Radiohead tracks, like Paranoid Android. That resonates. Like that. yeah, Paranoid Android is like very real. You know?
When I listen to this album, I feel like this is the only time when I get what Tom York's trying
Karma
to do with his
Police
voice.
is amazing.
Well, sure, there's a lot of good tracks. So I'm saying like the way he sings, never. I don't feel like it matches the tone of the songs, but overall, like on this album,
Yeah,
it really makes sense. I mean I really like the sentiment of this album too.
I mean, this is the second record, right?
Mhm.
That's pretty wild.
No, it's I believe it's the third.
Oh yeah, no, it's at least the third actually, because there was Pablo Honey and then there was the Benz, and then I think OK Computer was next, and that's a pretty like their first album is fucking trash, and then like they made like they made a very like very good jump, you know, they transitioned well, because the Benz is a lot different from OK Computer, but I especially feel like during its time, like OK Computer would have been, I don't know, what did this come out, like 91 or something?
I think
Maybe later.
I think it was 2001 when it came out.
No way.
Yeah, it has.
I'm pretty sure it came out late 90s. It came out in 1995. It looks like 1997. So yeah. Yeah, I'll put it in B tier. I'll put it with Kid A.
I'm gonna put an A tier.
Okay, you know, yeah, I was gonna say though, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's better than The Glow Part 2. So I don't know. Whatever, who fucking cares? I'll just no, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna throw it in A tier. Oh, did I put whoops, sorry. Alright. So the fucking Beach Boys Pet House, I think it's called, right?
Pet Sounds.
Pet Sounds. Gotta be honest with you, have not
album.
listened to this album.
I've listened to it. I
mean,
feel like
it's one of those ones where it's like I look at it and I'm like, I think it's like 30 minutes long. I don't know why I haven't listened to it. It just, I don't know. It only intrigues me so much.
So when I went into this album, I was expecting something like a bit more psychedelic, but its strengths lie more in the compositions, and it's more like something that music nuts, like especially people with the experience of like writing music or playing music, will pick up on.
Yeah.
To the average listener, it didn't really it just sort of seemed like a pop album, you know.
Yeah.
I like it, but a good one in that, except that the lyrical themes are pretty subversive, and I would even put the lyrical themes like a similar boat of the Velvet Underground's debut.
Yeah.
But well, it's not one of my favorites. I definitely think it's a really good album. I'm gonna put it. It's definitely A tier.
Okay. So next up, we have Talking Heads. I forget what it's called. Oh, Remain in Light. Remain in Light. Yes.
Yeah. Don't go in the darkness.
So this I was pretty into this one for a while. It's pretty some solid post punk. You know, this is some classic post punk right here. Radiohead is actually named after like their name came from, I believe, a Talking Heads song. Yeah. So that's something to think to chew on.
So they birthed the mediocre band.
Yeah. But this album's pretty cool.
No, yeah, it's definitely
it's fun post punk. It's it's like it's one of those like classic 40-minute post punk records with like 8 tracks. You just got to do it. You got to do it. It's good, and
I'm gonna admit I've never listened to this album in its entirety.
Oh really? Even though I almost forgot the name of the album. I actually have an original pressing of this. It's yeah. That was when I was like getting into post-punk a lot. But yeah, this album's cool. I haven't listened to it in such a long time that I don't really have much to say about it though. But I'll put it in A tier, I think. Yeah, post-punk's cool. How, you know what I don't understand? I don't understand. I don't know if it's just because it's like one of those things that's like too obvious. But like Unknown Pleasures is never in like any of the it's not in like any version. I've seen like one version of the MU Core chart that has Unknown Pleasures. Like you would think, right?
Urban Outfitters score.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, cuz that is totally MU Core. Like in reality. I don't know if they just don't want to acknowledge it for some reason. But yeah.
It'd be a great MU Core on that.
Anyways, you're gonna hate me, but I have not listened to Soundtrack for the Blind, whatever it is.
I mean, I don't blame people for not listening to it. It's a really fucking long album.
Yeah, it's intimidating, and I'm not into like post rock. It is post rock, right?
Yes, this is about.
Oh, he's making another row, folks. He's making a Swan's row.
About the first like true post rock album. It's definitely it's one of the the genesis of the album. You know, one of the
genre. Yeah. Greatest.
Yeah, I don't know everything. But anyway,
throw it up there.
None of these albums are anywhere near as good as this,
except My Bloody Valentine's Loveless,
including My Bloody Valentine's Loveless.
You're nothing.
This album is just incredible to me. It's sort of one of those things like people say, music is the silence between notes, and in this case, it can be sparse at times. It can be full at times. It has some weird moments. It feels like a story at times.
Okay.
But in terms of like the sound choices in this album and the specific samples that are used, the guitar tone that are used,
the goth cowboy hats.
Every little detail is so meticulous about this. And
dude, that's Loveless.
That's actually Juan's
soundtracks
for the Blah.
You're right.
This one didn't render very well in the tier list.
That's funny. I didn't even shill Loveless. I didn't shill Loveless hard enough. I like passed over it just because I was already sort of talking to you about My Bloody Valentine earlier. So I didn't feel like I needed to like say anything. But yeah, and I won't. I still haven't listened to this album, so I Slow Dive Souvlaki. Now this is another shoegaze record. I like shoegaze. This is Patrician. So this is, of course, a part of the Holy Trinity of shoegaze albums, which contains My Bloody Valentine, Loveless, Slow Dive Souvlaki, and Rides Nowhere. This is the dreamier side of shoegaze. Very like, it's like this is the album. If you ever smoke a cigarette at 3 a.m., like if you're ever smoking a cigarette at 3 a.m., turn on this album. I promise it will not it will not disappoint you. This album is very, it's such a, like, it represents a completely different aspect of shoegaze than Loveless, and that's what the Holy Trinity is pretty solid. Like the great thing about it is that it represents like three very different aspects of shoegaze, and Souvlaki, took It's not even really like. What's actually interesting is Neil, whatever the fuck the dude's name is, he actually has stated that like Isn't Anything, which is MBV's like first studio record, was more influential to him, and like he was more into that than he was Loveless, which is kind of interesting because I think Souvlaki came out the same year as Loveless actually. Let me see. But irregardless, Souvlaki... Oh, no, it didn't. It came out in 1994. Just for a Day, their first studio album came out in 1991. Like, the dreamier side of shoegaze, that completely... Like, the Cocteau Twins, you know, is very prominent. The Cocteau Twins' influence was pretty... is prominent more in My Bloody Valentine's vocals, whereas the actual instrumentation and, like, the guitar... You know, the amount of reverb on this album. Like, if My Bloody Valentine is, like, distortion, then Slow Dive is reverb.
So, I also really love this album.
Yeah.
This album, it took me, a couple listens to really get it, but when I got it, I really got it, and it was when I was
Have you seen there's like it's like a 50-minute like documentary on YouTube. I don't remember who it's by, but if you haven't seen it, you should really check it out. It's definitely worth your time.
Should definitely put a plug for that video somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
But
I'll
anyway,
pop it in the description so you can click on it.
When I finally got this album, I was dealing with the loss of my grandma, and for some reason, like in that that state, I finally like saw that it's more than just a somewhat psychedelic album. It's something that's just so much more pain buried in it, and
definitely, yeah,
it's definitely a very, very much so also God tier for me.
Cool. Slint Spiderland. I gotta take a piss. I'll be right back. We're just gonna cut from here.
Alright guys, so this is my chance to talk on the stream about Pizzagate. Pizzagate, Bill Clinton, sex slaves, hide your kids, hide your wife, they're raping everyone. You hear? And I'm also gonna do this for prosperity. And here's the real cut.
You good? What are you doing?
Just hanging out.
Word. You ready to get back into business? No way, we've been recording for 45 minutes. Holy shit. Alright, sit down. We gotta wrap up. Alright, so we are now at Slint's Spiderland. You definitely have more of an opinion on this one than I do.
This is an album I feel is very visceral and emotional, and in a weird way, since the lyrics weren't even planned during the writing this, it was in the studio that their label or some people behind it were like, hey, you've got to slap lyrics on this. This is, you know, so someone wasn't okay with it being purely instrumental. But a lot. I mean, clearly
was
the
originally
lyrics
like a completely instrumental album.
Completely instrumental. Yeah.
Interesting.
But the lyrics are what helps like a lot of people really grab onto it. So.
You know, it's what like I listened to this album and I didn't feel that same emotional punch. Maybe I got to give it some more time, but it definitely felt like a cooler, like edgier side of post rock to me. Like, you know, like something like Godspeed You Black Emperor is like really pretentious and like sophisticated, you know. Like, I don't know, like Spiderland felt like it was like made by some pretty cool dudes, even if they were a little sad, you know.
Well, I'd say like in terms of like pure instrumentation, the riffs on Spiderland are way more interesting and truly experimental than something like Godspeed. Um, they're just they're quirky, they're off kilter. They're things that really resonate with me. I really like that about it. It really reminds me of Unwound's later music. Once they started to experiment with similar riffs. But it's definitely that sort of twangy, off kilter riff style is something I really like.
I haven't given this one enough time, but I'm gonna put it in C for now. I might raise that if I gave it some more love, but yeah.
I'm gonna put this one in A.
Okay. So next up we have Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask Replica. I have not listened to this in full. I've attempted to listen to it. It's just a little...
God bless anyone who listens to it in full.
It's not particularly like engaging or accessible. It's fucking weird, and I respect it for that. And like I was actually listening to some Captain Beefheart the other day at Iris. I was just going through some shit on Spotify, and like it does have like it sounds like this sort of like influence like Primus and like that kind of like thing of like it's got like this really weird like sort of like bassy feel and like a very like I don't fucking know how to describe it. It's got like this like sort of gross aesthetic to it. But in a way that like they made it a rock album, even though it's so fucking like it sounds like it's almost like normal music, but it's not at all. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I don't know. I don't have enough experience with this to really even attempt to describe it, but I do feel like a certain way about it.
I find it's kind of like a very aggressive cousin to the Residents' music. The Residents wrote music in a sort of like a phonetic sense. Like they don't know music theory or choose not to apply it to their music, so they just write things that sound good, and it sort of makes a really childlike sound to it and really sing-song music.
Yeah.
Beefheart chooses also to not apply music theory to his music, but his music sounds like mayhem, sounds just like chaos. But the thing is, this is definitely better than In Rainbows. So this is going in B tier.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this in Never Ever. Death Grips The Money Store is an album that sonically resonates with me pretty greatly. You know, each track packs a fucking punch. Death Grips, particularly on this one, has like this sporadic like chaos energy that just strikes a certain chord like within, like it strikes a fucking weird fucking like visceral energy thing. You know, it like their tracks, every track on this album is a fucking like slams ya. Like it's almost a pop album in a weird way. Like I listen to this album nowadays, and I mean I haven't listened to it in a while, but like if I were to, it almost feels like a pop record. Like it doesn't feel that experimental. Like honestly,
at the time it was incredibly like experimental, but it shaped pop. Like you can see it. Like I mean like immediately Kanye picked up on it and like borrowed some of the things.
I mean, yeah, and especially now there's a lot, you know, like there's like JPEG Mafia and like a lot of stuff like that. Like
JPEG Mafia, Childish Gambino.
Yeah, it's definitely influential. I think people definitely overreact to Death Grips a little bit, I think personally, Like I think like there is other shit like Death Grips. I mean, like people, I don't know, people seem to like overreact. Like,
well, I mean, buddy, at the time,
sure.
it's,
I'm not saying, you know, they're
fucking.
it's a great album.
It's a god tier album, in fact. That's where it
That's
belongs.
totally fair, and
That's where it belongs, and you wanna.
I feel like honestly, I feel like I agree. I feel like it's a little worn out for me.
Well,
and I haven't listened to it nearly as much as you have.
I mean, it's not my favorite Death Grips album, but there's multiple Death Grips albums that I think could put in God's tier.
Bottomless Pit is another one of my favorites. Personally. Anyways, yeah, I'll put it in Patrician. You're gonna hate me? I've not listened to this in full.
It's true.
You hate me.
I hate this man. He's got bad taste in music.
No, it's like
as you can see by this man putting Loveless in shit tier. This man believes Loveless is a shit tier album.
But I'm just gonna do this for you. Is that fair? Or would you put it here?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put it there.
Okay.
The reason I do that is I don't really like Sunday Morning.
Really?
I don't really. I don't like.
Sunday morning.
It's a cool song, but
Boom, boom, boom.
I don't like some of Nico's. I don't know. It feels a little out of place. I like her solo stuff. I like Chelsea Girls. I like her later stuff. The stuff with like synths and stuff was pretty radical. But it it was one of the first.
This is a revolutionary record.
Absolutely revolutionary
as far as
album.
I understand.
One of the first albums to shape my taste in music. The first, it may have been one of the first punk records, but for me, it introduced
like
me to the ideology of punk rock, like that music can express things that aren't just felt by.
I mean, this came out in the fucking
people.
60s, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I mean it, and the subject matter is extremely subversive. For the 60s, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there was very subversive literature in the 60s, but in terms of like music, you're not talking about, you know, things like doing heroin yet, until the Velvet Underground, and thank you for that, because that's what there you go. There's music. They invented music,
and
folks.
There you go, folks. You have our charts.
I just want to, if you ever find heroin is completely safe, and do as much as possible.
Yep.